Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us from wherever you are. Again, my name is Ben Williams. I will be, there's my slide right there, talking a little bit about Tapio. This is just a really high-level overview of Tapio, where I want to explain some of the fundamental concepts behind Tapio, what it is, what it can do. And a big point here, a couple of things, is how it's going to reshape the landscape of technology in the industry. My primary outcome, again, is to kind of produce that better understanding of Tapio, but specifically the IoT, or in our context, the IIoT, which is the Industrial Internet of Things. That's the whole concept that centers around how things are interconnected, like our cell phones to our homes, smart homes, your Nest thermostats, your cars. I mean, why is it that you can pull up Facebook in your car now for whatever reason? So those are some of the things that will be concepts we'll be talking about here. So some of our takeaways from this course is not only are we going to be talking about Tapio, but some of the partners of Tapio, and one of them is the HomeEgg Digital Factory. So for those of you out there that have HomeEgg machinery, they're of course pretty collaborative with Tapio. They make a lot of apps and services for the Tapio platform, so we'll talk about that. How can I run production from my phone? So again, that's that IoT reference, the Internet of Things reference I made earlier, is how is it that with the pace, the way that things are moving so quickly in business today, we can't always be at the shop or in the office. So how are we able to facilitate production and control and to look at those aspects of business from our mobile devices. And then of course, here we're talking about basically our factories are becoming smart factories, kind of like your home is a smart home now with your Alexa hockey puck or drink coasters, as some of my friends joke. But your Alexas or your Nest thermostats. So your smart factory on a budget. So these are digital solutions that do not cost an arm and a leg. And as a matter of fact, there's a lot of trials available of these things too, just to play with and see how that works. And I'll actually have a QR code here in a couple slides in. You'll be able to scan and play with one of the applications on your phone in real time. So prepare for that. I'll kind of give you some instruction on how that works. So by taking this course, participants will be able to, hopefully by the end, you'll be able to define Tapio and identify its role. Again, I mentioned the digital factory as well. List and compare Tapio's primary applications or its functions. So we'll talk about the apps and what they can do, and you should have a good idea of how they do it. And then we'll talk about some cloud-based inventory management solutions as well. So you'll be able to understand that as well. So a lot of these digital solutions that we have now are no longer locally installed. A lot of the stuff is cloud-based. So you might even have an ERP system that's cloud-based or functions on the same platform. So we'll get into this here, and I just actually referenced the word platform. So we'll start with the whole concept of what is Tapio. And I think the magic word here and the simplest way to think about Tapio is just think of it as a platform, okay? And we'll elaborate on that more here. So what do we mean by platform? What are some real life examples of what that means? Okay, so Facebook is an example of a platform that connects people to other people. Amazon is another example of a platform that connects people to products and services. And which, by the way, Amazon, their AWS is Amazon Web Services. So that's a lot of the IoT stuff that we were just talking about. And Tapio is the platform that we'll be talking about today that is designed primarily to connect people to their machines. It can do more than that, so we'll talk about that here. But that is the concept of thinking about Tapio as a platform in which we can build digital solutions that reside inside the Tapio platform. So there are some specific applications that are designed by Tapio, like machine board, service board, data save, our Tapio applications. And then there is the tool manager, which is a form of a digital factory app. There's a good handful more of digital factory apps. But basically what they're using Tapio for is think of Tapio also as a like a super highway that connects your machinery to the Tapio server over the internet, and then that connects back down to your phone. So that's an example of the IoT or Internet of Things. But Tapio is a system that's used to facilitate that communication between your cell phone and your machine. So it's easier or easy for app developers to use Tapio as a platform to develop other applications for woodworking machinery as well. And we'll talk about some of those service providers in here as well. But the main takeaway here is that Tapio is a platform. So let's dive into some examples of what that means. So let's say we'll use Amazon as an example here. Okay, I'm guessing that a percentage of you are probably familiar with Amazon and use that to get your things like groceries and cat food and all that kind of weird stuff. But so third-party sellers will work with Amazon, okay, and they develop apps and products to sell on Amazon's platform. Okay, it's kind of like eBay as well, where it's companies and direct people that are using that platform to sell their products. Kind of that same concept, and they reach out to customers. So in the context of the woodworking industry, and I mentioned HomeEgg, so I'll keep picking on them. But HomeEgg uses the Tapio platform to develop apps, and then they distribute them out to customers. So that's an example of how the platform concept works, and how developers use at a really high level how they create content for those platforms. So let's use a real life example. And one of my favorites, of course, is the self-driving car. You can see here there's a particular company. If you look really hard, you can see their logo on the hubcap. But they used Google to help design some of their self-driving car feature. So in this example, our car manufacturer wants to develop a self-driving feature for cars. They might work with the app developer who grants them access to certain data or controller information on the cars, which allows them to develop the applications. So what's interesting here is that the apps aren't developed by the automakers themselves. So some of this, or a lot of this stuff actually is not done in-house for various reasons, whether it's intellect or cost, things like that. So what they ended up doing here is Google developed the self-driving app for this automaker. The automaker just skinned it with their logo, and then installed that technology within the car. So that's kind of the same concept here that we're working with. And this is just a real life example of how that's worked in the auto industry. So as far as in real life for us, okay, let's look at an application that was developed here. So the HomeEgg Digital Factory wants to make an application to interface tool information on our saws for tool tracking. So HomeEgg would approach Tapio with a concept, and then Tapio would use their superhighway of machine access to machine controllers and things of that nature to develop an application called Tool Manager. So this is not specifically an app that is not specifically designed by Tapio, but rather through HomeEgg. He designs the app and uses the Tapio platform to distribute that to customers. So this is a real application. It's available on saws, and it does real-time tool tracking. So what does this mean for the industry and technology moving forward? It just means that we're just going to continue to see more digitization of our processes and more things that are becoming cloud-based and developed with partnerships, for example, like HomeEgg and Tapio have going on here. So what is Tapio, or why is it important? So the big things I think that are important with Tapio here, again from a really high level, is it's all about the connectivity and speed of today's business environment, and how can we have greater control and a greater level of accessibility over our processes and over our operations. And another buzzword or term that we hear a lot is business intelligence. That doesn't have to do with statistics per se, because I think that's something that comes to people's mind. But it's more about the cloud-based applications and things like that. So how can in our context, how can we draw out more information from our machinery, and how can that help us run our businesses better? So that's where Tapio comes in. That's a huge component of why it's important. This is one of our fearless leaders here at Door Company, Ralph Dieter. And these guys are big advocates of this. They really believe in this technology. They do a lot with the automotive industry as well. But what he means here by this quote is that to just recognize that this technology is definitely evolving. It's becoming more important and a larger cornerstone of how we operate in our industry and how we run our businesses. When he says platform economics, he's actually referring to like the Ubers and Airbnbs of the world, and how, up until I would say probably 5 years ago, would you ever think that it was okay to let a complete stranger live in your house, right, for a period of time? Okay, well, now at that point we'd probably say no, but now we have Airbnb. So the point here is that these platforms are reshaping entire industry segments. And that's really the goal for Tapio as well. I just want to show you really quickly, these are some of the manufacturers that are partners with Tapio. There's everybody in here from machinery manufacturers. You see HomeEgg there, Venyakab, Sheely, all those guys are in there. There's some other ones too. But also tool makers are in here as well. Edgebanding companies are in here. So if you kind of do the math, you can kind of see, and we'll talk about some applications here in a moment where that connect, like edge banding, inventory management with machines, and their tool management was another one, the tool manager in real time. So these are companies using the Tapio platform to develop applications that have a cross function that communicate with their machinery. So it's really interesting stuff here. So we described what Tapio is. We talked about that a little bit. Now we'll talk about the applications that are available from Tapio. I'll talk about, I call them the big three here. We'll start off with machine board, okay? Now, machine board is really interesting. Think of machine board as real-time machine monitoring, okay? And we'll walk through some screenshots here of what that looks like. And then I'll actually show you a QR code and give you a few seconds to scan that with your phone. And you can actually open up and kind of run this simulation yourself. But these are our Stiles showroom areas, okay? You've got High Point here, and I hope you guys can see my laser pointer on the screen here. But this is our High Point office, okay? The red indicates there's a problem with that machine, all right? So you select High Point, you go down in this list, it opens up the list. You can see the machine here with the issue here. Go in here, so you select the machine. Okay, you can see up here, we got an emergency stop triggered. Okay, we can click this button here, which by the way shows us the different stations of the machine. You can click this errors button here. All right, and it expands some additional information as to what's going on with the machine, kind of broadens your understanding of the error, where it comes from. Okay, and you can also look at some maintenance information. There's also some warning information and that comes out of this. You can also see some recommended actions to resolve that error if there were any available. So this is machine board. Now I'm going to show you this QR code. Okay, so now take out your cell phone, and you should be able to pull up your camera like you're going to take a picture and hold it up so it can see the square QR code in the screen of your camera, and it'll open up a link for you. Just select the link, open up on your cell phone, and that will take you to a demo version of machine board that you can interact with, and you can walk through some of those screens that I just showed you a few minutes ago. So I'll wait another couple of seconds, make sure everybody's got a chance to do that, and I'll pull that up at the end too during our Q&A if you guys want to, if that's a question you've got. So what are some of the benefits of machine board here? Let's go next here. Again, real-time machine status. Okay, so you're going to monitor machinery in real time. You can see its primary operating state, right? Is it making dust? You can see if it's an error message, if it has idle time, if it's handling material, all those things you can see in real time. Real-time notifications. So you can basically have machine board send you a text when the machine has an error state. So that's a really handy thing to know. And of course, you don't have to be in the office. You can run down to Starbucks and your phone will ding and you'll be able to check out, see what's going on. You can also organize your machinery by production lines or types or locations. If you have multiple locations, you saw that on the screen. So that's machine board, okay? The next one I want to talk about is service board. Service board is centered around heavily around the service aspect of your business. So one of this has quickly become my favorite app because there's a lot of capability. So what this allows you to do is submit tech support calls to us using this service from Service Board. Our screenshot here is that we have this is our corporate, so we have a lot of just silly ones in here where we were testing out the system. But you can go up here, service cases, you click this little button down here, and it lists all of them for you, by the way, in chronological order, so you can keep track of your history, call reports. You can see what's list all, open, complete. You can even search for machines or messages if you're curious. So how this works is, to create a call report with us, service cases, you would select, you actually go back, you would end up selecting this little plus sign up here, this little piece of paper it looks like. It takes you to this screen where you would select Stiles Machinery as your service partner. Next screen over, you can select the QR code on the machine, or you can select this folder icon that lists all of your machinery in your Tapio admin portal after you add them. And then we'll go next. And here you can type in your error message. It says hood won't release. You can indicate production is stopped, add pictures and video, alternate contact phone number, and click send. All right, and then it takes you back to your main screen where it shows you that we're working on the call report here. And as we progress through the call report, you get text notification updates as to what our progress is on it for you. So to give you a little bit of insider information here, this is what it looks like when we receive it. So as you saw in the previous screen, we had a saw hood won't release as our error here, created a call report for us. So for those of you that have used our tech support, you're used to getting our call report numbers here. So this is what they look like in the system. All right. And as we work through, this is just a snapshot from our CRM in the background. But as we work through the call report, okay, we can go in here and we can enter what we think the solution is. If you can't see that, it basically says check G3200K relay contacts, et cetera, et cetera. And when we close that, all right, that solution pushes up into Service Board, and it will send you a text notification saying that that we have your answer, your question has been solved. So, and you can respond back and forth if you have additional questions as well. Some other functions of Service Board that I think are really great is you can go into this sub menu down here, the little 3 dots down here, okay? And then you can click the spare parts option here, and it'll take you to a mobile version of our Stiles parts store. You can search by SKU number, search buttons up there. You can search by SKU number, model, serial number, part name, whatever information you have available for you. And you can actually, when this bubble's lit up as blue, you can chat in real time with one of our parts representatives to get those same answers, or if you have additional questions. So that's kind of a fun feature. If you go down here next, you click this monitor button right here. If your machine is connected to the internet, okay, connected to Tapio, it will pull the maintenance data from the machine and list it in descending order as to what is the most high priority thing that you need to maintain on the machine. And if you don't know how to do that, you can click this little box right there, this little caret or arrow, and it will pull up the directions, or the instructions rather, on how to perform maintenance on that section of the machine. And one last thing that we've got here, and I will show you in the next screen as well, is we can do video diagnostics. There's a lot of times where we have people say, oh, I wish that I could show you what we're doing. I wish I could show you what I'm seeing. And we can do that now with a couple clicks of a button through Service Board. So some benefits of Service Board, which by the way, you do not need to have a machine connected to the internet, okay? If you want information like your maintenance here, or to pull up your documentation, it would need to be connected. But otherwise, you don't need to have the machine connected online to use the tech support call function of it, okay? So we talked about that create and track tech support calls. Remote video diagnostics is no longer coming soon. It is live as of about 2 weeks ago. So we can update that. I talked about the maintenance monitoring and parts ordering. So at a really kind of aggregate level, those are the benefits of Service Board. Data Save, as we're buzzing along here, is basically, it's not an app, it's a service that backs up machine information to the cloud. So if you're not running a backup, a local backup at your machine, this is a great solution. And it restores the 5 most recent backups in a row for you. And it does machine parameters, operating information, things like that. It is not an image, not a complete image of the operating system, but it's enough data, right? So if somebody shuts the machine off incorrectly on a Friday, we get phone calls and tech support on Monday. The machine comes up and it's missing some parameter somewhere. And to do a restore remotely right now is a whole lot easier using Data Save to recover that information. So those are your big 3: machine board, service board, and Data Save. Moving into the HomeEgg digital factory applications. Again, HomeEgg is a partner with Tapio. They use the Tapio platform to develop apps. One of the applications they're working on, or will be available here in the coming months, is called Material Manager. This is HomeEgg's answer to a cloud-based inventory management system. So Material Manager will manage your edge banding, and it will also manage your board library for you. So it'll manage that data. You can receive in new parts, create new part line items, you know, some basic stuff like you would do in any inventory management system, but you just do it in the cloud. And it pushes that data into these applications that you see here that would be used on the production floor. And we'll talk about one of those in a moment. What it also does is feeds board information to IntelliDivide. So we'll circle back to IntelliDivide in a moment, but let's just use this as an example. I just want to show you guys what that means in terms of material management for edge banding. So what's really interesting now is we're moving away from the application side of things, just having apps, specifically applications available, and we're into the hardware world now. So this rack that you see on the right-hand side is used for edge banding. You can use it with the cardboard boxes or without. It's configurable, so you can layer edge banding horizontally if you'd like. But your folks on the floor that are going to be feeding this edge banding into machinery can use this tablet, which interfaces with Material Manager, and they can sign in and out edge banding roles. What's great about this is your edge banding is not laying loose on the floor. It's not piled up. I mean, honestly, we're a little guilty of that every once in a while in our warehouses. But this rack helps get that up off the floor, gets it organized, keeps the dust off from it, keeps it from getting chipped or scratched. And then this is the box design on the left-hand side of the screen over here, so you can get an idea of what that looks like. We got a little line drawing here for you. This just shows a roll of edge banding going in the box. The boxes are corrugated, so they are structurally designed to hold up, and they're reusable, so sealed with Velcro. And they also have this little gauge. So on the side of the box, I would just kind of point on the side of the box, there is a little window cut out in there that shows you this graphic, which basically says for however thick your millimeter thickness your edge banding is, okay, wherever the roll as it's wound around the core, wherever it ends up on this box or on these lines that you have here, gives you a rough idea of how much edge banding you have left if you just want something to eyeball. So this is an example of how Material Manager interfaces with Material Assist Edge. Okay, so powering through here, we're going to talk about IntelliDivide now. I'm circling back to that. All right, so as I'd mentioned, Material Manager is an inventory management for edge banding and boards. Also filters that information into IntelliDivide. Okay, so to better understand, before I dive into IntelliDivide here, to better understand what IntelliDivide is to understand the function of why it exists. So, and it's an optimization software. So when you produce drawings or part list or cut lists and send those out, IntelliDivide, both for optimization for saws and nesting for CNCs, will look at that and tell you the most efficient way to cut the material. So you can have least amount of waste. You can have a higher speed. You can have a higher yield. It kind of lets you dial in how well you want to use your resources, more or less, your boards. So how much, basically it's helping you control how much waste you're generating. And you can kind of see that here a little bit in some of the screenshots. It also offers you some alternatives as well. Optimized for handling. There's minimum time, minimum scrap, so you've got some options in here. So this is an optimizer. Okay, so we will talk about this here. Optimization, again, for saws and nesting for CNC. So now you've got your material manager, your boards going into IntelliDivide to be optimized, right? Helping you decide the best cut pattern for you, so you don't have to try to calculate that by hand. So two things need to happen with IntelliDivide, okay? First is you need to have those files sent out to the saw, right? If you're optimizing, it would go to a saw. So IntelliDivide is able to do that. It's able to push that information out to the saw. But what if you wanted to do labeling? We have a lot of folks that have never optimized, right? IntelliDivide works for that. But at the same time, they have a lot of parts that come off a saw or a CNC that it's starting to get difficult tracking where things are going. So Production Assist is the labeling. It's a cloud-based labeling solution for IntelliDivide. So as you're producing the parts, you have Production Assist nesting and cutting, making the labels for you, and it's right at the machine. It's with a Zebra printer. And this is my little line drawing for that. So I apologize, I don't have a picture of it handy. But again, you use a tablet at the machine to select what part you want to print the label for. And it comes with this little, what they call a Raspberry Pi, which is a little circuit board in there, a little CPU that connects to the internet, prints your labels, and you can actually make and design your own box if you wanted to. And then that just sits over by the machine, and you can print your labels that way. And this is actually a screenshot. IntelliDivide actually looks very similar to this. It shows you your pattern after it's been optimized. But this is what it would look like on the screen of your tablet. And you can touch whatever part lights up blue. So if you didn't want to make a label for this one, you just tap that one, it would light up blue. You can label, label, confirm, and continue. After it prints the label for that piece, this box would turn gray and it auto selects another part. So you always know where you left off in the pattern. Now with Production Assist, it is not, it's still a manual process. So if you're using a sliding table saw, for example, your machine operator would need to know how to best cut each one of these patterns. So there's a little bit of intuitiveness that they would need to know on a manual machine like a sliding table saw in order to cut out the right pieces using the one board that all this is contained in. But if it's a like a B130, if it's a panel saw with a CPU in it, then it's a little more automated than that. Okay, so that is where I'll leave us on the digital factory. The next thing I'll show you here is just a tool. I think it's just interesting. It shows us all of our digital solutions laid out in a chart that helps us kind of decide which direction to go. And again, I get some people that mix and match, but what my learning outcome here is I just wanted to be able to show you all the different solutions that we offer. Everything from, you can see the process that you would go through up here. So shop solutions, order creation, work preparation, production planning, production service. About roughly the size of the company. So cabinet makers, 10 employees or less, between 10 and 50 employees, and then larger companies. And then each one of the digital solutions that fit or that would fit within that particular aspect of their company or what they're trying to do in terms of a process. So just something interesting to look at. So now I want to show you we're coming down the home stretch here. Of course, we don't stay static. We have to keep moving forward. So we're always working on new apps and new digital solutions. And I want to show you, I'm just going to show you some of their names now that we have in the works. So Cabinet Creator will be available here shortly. That's a cloud-based cabinet creator software. So think of it like WoodCAD CAM, but in the cloud. So it's not locally installed, but runs off a phone or a tablet. And they do have user interfaces for PC as well. Teledivide nesting, okay, that's available now. Production Manager is answers the question, right? If I'm Ben, wanted to place an order for a new kitchen at ABC Cabinets. ABC Cabinets wants to know where Ben's kitchen is in the process, right? How many pieces are at the saw? How many pieces are at the edge bander? What's being edge banded? Where's my stuff? So Production Manager gives them that answer. It shows them where it is in the process, okay? We talked about Tool Manager. And then again, which is real-time, it's tool monitoring at saws right now, not available for CNC yet, but it's available for saw. And then Machine Analyzer, we'll end up changing the name, but Machine Analyzer answers the question of how do I know if my machinery is running efficiently. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna plug the other webinar that we have going on, MMR Office, MMR Machine Monitor and Reporting. Is going to be next week, I believe Wednesday next week, but we can confirm that. And that's going to be talking about that same type of concept. How do I know what my machinery is doing from a state standpoint, right? Is it making dust? Is it idle? Is it a warning or an error message? If it's an error message, what is it? How long was it in place for? How did we resolve it? Okay, Machine Analyzer and MMR answers those questions, okay? From the Tapio side of things, we have Industrial Tube. Industrial Tube is, think of it like a YouTube channel or a YouTube platform for woodworking. So we've got some folks out there that are bringing new people in and training new people. And there's a lot of tribal knowledge at organizations that they want to try to digitize, whether it's a video or a document or something they can create a learning tool from. And that's what Industrial Tube is for. So it's not public for everybody to see. You have your own channel within Industrial Tube, but it's used to create educational material for your processes. And then Twinio is exactly like Tool Manager. It's Tapio's version of Tool Manager, but it's more agnostic. So it talks with not just HomeEgg machinery, but your Maycors, your Venyacobs, things of that nature, Heisman sanders. You can track your tooling and sanding belts, things like that on Twinio. Okay, so how do you get started? How do I get more information? What do I do? I want to check out more of this stuff. I want to get more involved. Awesome. We have a ton of people here, and this is a snapshot of our national service team at their department meeting this last summer. So these folks can help out. There's contact information there as well. And of course, myself, I'm more than happy to answer questions now or later when they pop up. But here's some contact information to get you in touch with them. They can help set up the account. They can get you voucher codes. You can do stuff for free. Whatever you need, add machines. They can show you IntelliDivide, whatever you want. So we're here to help. Let us know if you have questions. I think that I am pretty much done here. I got one last slide too for Stiles University here. This is my last slide.